WikiLeaks is out with a new bombshell in the election. The last time, of course, was the DNC emails. As you guys recall, those emails are pretty damning in the sense that they show that the DNC was biased from the very beginning in favor of Hillary Clinton and against Bernie Sanders. And there were things such as people in the DNC suggesting narratives against Bernie Sanders. One person said, hey, in West Virginia and Kentucky, Hillary's down, so why not make a thing out of the fact that he might be an atheist? Let's atheist shame him. So it was terrible, it was grotesque, and did that have an effect on the election? Sure, Hillary took a hit in the polls as a result of that. Now it appears like some of that, there may be a change now because you had Trump's election bump, and then you had Hillary's election bump, so now Hillary's up in the average of polls fairly comfortably, but now we have some more leaks. This time it's even bigger. Free Thought Project explains here. The latest revelation by the whistleblower organization reveals Hillary Clinton was a director of and received over $100,000 from French industrial giant Lafarge, which I'm definitely pronouncing wrong, which was recently exposed as secretly sponsoring ISIS for profit. Investigations reveal that Lafarge has paid taxes to the terror group to operate its cement plant in Syria and even bought ISIS oil for years. Damn. So, unfortunately, this is something that is all too commonplace in our system, where you have unsavory ties from you remove it twice and boom, you're right with terrorist organizations and the worst dictators on the planet. So another example is HSBC. You guys remember what happened with HSBC? There was a big scandal about how they did business with and did business for drug cartels. And they also did it with al-qaeda. And they also did it with the Iranian government back when they were sanctioned and they weren't allowed to do business with the Iranian government. So, and then obviously, you have HSBC, you have all these different banks who are doing business with all these unsavory people. You don't think that they're giving contributions to politicians, and you don't think that they're giving those contributions to get stuff in return? Of course they are. Obviously, that's the way our system works. It's run on legalized bribery, and it's disgusting. But what that shows you is, man, there's a real problem with how our politicians are funded and what kind of incentives they have. But I gotta be honest, when reading this story and everybody flipping out over it, I thought, well, hold on now. You do know that Hillary Clinton approved Saudi weapons deals, right? You do know that Saudi Arabia takes those weapons and turns around and bombs women and children in Yemen. Over 50% of the people killed in Yemen are civilians. They attack schools for the blind and hospitals and stuff like that. They took the weapons we gave them and armed al-qaeda on the ground in Yemen because al-qaeda is fighting the Shia Houthi rebels who they view as a bigger enemy. They want any Sunni fighters on the ground. Well, al-qaeda, they're Sunni fighters. Terrorists, but Sunni fighters. They're like, we don't care. Arm them. So, and it's same thing in Syria. How many of the rebels are Islamists and jihadists, and Saudi Arabia is arming them, and we were backing them at one point. And Hillary has been on this side the entire time, and now people are like, oh, look, there are connections if you remove it to jihadists. Yeah, the connections with Saudi Arabia, enough. That's connections to Salafi Islam, Wahhabi Islam. Guilty. Like, what else do you want to say? That's guilty. But now what they're trying to say is, well, look, now it's even direct from one company that's basically paying money to operate in ISIS territory and buying ISIS oil. Again, Turkish government did the same thing, and obviously Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State, business with the Turkish government, so on and so forth. So I'm not as surprised by these leaks as others, and I think others need to understand just how deep our connections to really bad actors goes, whether it's Saudi Arabia or Turkey or other Islamist and jihadist groups, and this is just another example of it right here. And I should say, to be fair to Hillary Clinton, and they go on to explain this in the article, they say, oh, she was the director of said company. She wasn't the director of this company when they've been paying their bribes to ISIS so that ISIS doesn't kill them in Syria to run their cement plant. She wasn't director of the company when they were buying ISIS oil, but she was director of the company when they were doing business with Saddam Hussein, for example, and then when they were doing business with other dictators. So it's not like she's guilt-free in this respect, but it is the case that it's not ISIS specifically who Like, oh, she was running the company and couldn't wait to do business with ISIS. That's not true. But it is true that there are unsavory connections as a result of our money in politics. And what we have to do is make it so that money is not a thing in politics anymore. We need a constitutional amendment to get clean elections by law and make it so that when the politicians are funded by you and me, who are they more likely to represent? You and me. When they're funded right now by the wealthy and corporations, who are they going to represent? The wealthy and corporations. And it just so happens that some of those corporations and some of those wealthy people do business with ISIS.